Laura.
So I'm here in England, and you're all the way over there in America. It's madness.
Yep, we're in Northern California right now.
So what we're going to do today, Naomi, if that's okay with you, is some questions just to find out about how you became a superstar director and hopefully share some of your tips with everybody. So my first question for you was, when did you become a Scentsy consultant?
So I started in the year 2009. Scentsy was 5 years old, and I started April 29th because I wanted to make sure I got in for the Mother's Day gift-giving rush.
Sure. So Mother's Day, Mother's Day is kind of big here, but it's not huge. So do you have like loads of presents on Mother's Day? Normally we do like a primrose or something little for Mother's Day.
Yes, I get. Well, that's very interesting. I never knew you guys did glorify your mothers as much as we do. But yeah,
we glorify them.
Our mothers make out quite handsomely with presents on Mother's Day.
That's good. I'll have to push that for sales.
Yes, yes.
So how did you get interested in Scentsy? Like, how did you find out about it?
That's actually a much longer story, but
okay.
Long story short, my husband was deployed in Afghanistan, and I was actually quite sad and depressed. There were some things we were going through, and it was hard, and my dog, knocked up another dog, and I was so ashamed. And so I spent all my days forcing my mama dog to nurse, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was working a lot, and I was really sad and depressed and missing my husband. And long story short, I went to a stranger's house, and being sleep deprived for weeks, I was just, very, very unhappy. And I went to the stranger's house and fell asleep on her couch. And when I woke up, it's not the safest story. When I woke up, she had the Scentsy warmer next to her couch, and I am like, that is the golden egg. What was that, and how did it work? And that's when I realized that smell triggers emotion. Something so small like the scent of a sugar cookie made me feel loved. It made me feel comfortable, and something, we don't think about it, but when you walk into a house that smells like sugar cookie, usually it's a mom or grandma or girlfriend, somebody you trust is making it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty comforting.
Yeah, something so small as the smell of a sugar cookie made me be at ease, lessened my stress, and I totally fell asleep on a stranger's couch. So I said, well, I need to get some of that. And at that point, we weren't financially sound. So I said, okay, well, how can I get that for free? So she wasn't a consultant. She gave me a catalog, and I said, oh, well, I should have a party. But I had 10 dogs, 8 puppies, 2 dogs, and I'm like, nobody's going to come to my house with 10 dogs. So I said, okay, well, what's the next choice? It's be a consultant. And I did a lot of research, and I'm really big about scams, and I just don't want to burden my friends. I don't want to be that friend that sells something that nobody wants. And being a military wife, price point was very important. And I love that we have, no shipping costs if our party's qualified. So long story short, I did 3 days of hard researching, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And it's probably been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Wow. So like the rest is history. I fell asleep on someone's couch, and then
yeah.
Wow, I haven't actually heard that story before, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a true story, and it's a little bit more in depth, but that pretty much summed it up right there. That was the first Scentsy warmer I've ever saw. I signed up without even owning one. I signed up without ever going to a party. That was it.
So do you always sleep with sugar cookie now? Do you always have that on?
I do have sugar cookie all over the house, mixed with coconut lemongrass, as you pointed out, is my favorite. So
yeah, that's a good one. So when you started, did you have any goals in mind? Did you know that you were going to become a superstar director, or was it just something you started to see how it goes?
Well, when I started, my husband was in Afghanistan, and he was coming home in 4 months, and I knew to make a substantial not substantial, but a good paycheck. I needed to hit director. So I asked around. I asked everybody that I knew and mentors and stuff, and I said, how long did it take you to become director? And I heard 1 year, 2 year, and then I heard some 6-month people, and I'm like, well, if you did it in 6 months, I'm gonna do it in 4. So I gave myself a deadline of 4 months, and I actually hit it right on the nose. 4 months.
Wow, that's amazing. So by the time he came home, you were like, yeah, I'm a director.
Yes, he actually came home April, May, June, July, August. So yeah, he came home the end of August. I just got back from convention. I went to convention by myself, and I promoted that month. So it didn't turn until September 10th when our numbers are generated. But I did qualify 3 days after he got home, because I think he came home on the 27th or something like that, and I promoted that month.
Wow, that's so good. So how did you do that in 4 months? That was,
I'm sorry?
What, 4 years ago?
Yes.
So how big is your team now?
So my goal for my first convention, I did convention, I went to my first convention, I was only 2 months old. So my 1 year convention, my goal was 100 people on my team, and I think I had 103 or 106. My second year, my goal was 300, and I hit it right on the nose. And my third year was 600, and we actually hit over 1,000. So that was what, 2.5 years in, we did over 1,000. I forgot what the question was. Oh, how big's my team?
How is big?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, the highest we've ever hit was 1,100. But, recently Scentsy did a policy readjustment, which I think is great for our business. And so that cut me down to, we're at 660 right now, which is a very healthy 660. I'd rather have a
healthy, because that's everybody's active in that number.
Yes, it's nice to have it's nice to know my team wants to be here than to have 1,100 that are just it's not good for them either. It's a waste of their time,
Yeah, that's crazy. So you recruited so many people. Do you have any tips for recruiting? I mean, director in 4 months is phenomenal.
I hustled. I actually got the annual mentor award every single year, except last year when I had my second baby. But
that's a fair excuse.
Yeah. So 2 children really does change the game. And my husband is gone, a good 10 months out of the year. So it was very hard for me to juggle 2 children by myself without.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be.
But my goal was to do 2 to 4 every month, and so my best tip is ask everyone. I mean, you don't know. I was actually up on the phone till 3 a.m. yesterday talking to people that I would have never assumed were going to join. I gave a gift to my friend, just genuinely out of my friends came to visit. I haven't seen them for about 10 years. We used to go to church together. I found them on Facebook, and they were coming into town, and I just wanted to give them, I just wanted to give them something. And Scentsy is such a big part of my life. They didn't have one. I gave it to them. And, being Chinese, I will tell you, a lot of Chinese don't use candles. We weren't raised that way. I think we were raised in such frugal families. I mean, that's just a luxury that most Chinese people don't use. And so they were Chinese, so I gave them one, and I kept asking them, how do you like it? How do you like it? How do you like it? And they kept skirting around the issue. And finally, they told me, well, we've been using with Vicks Vapor Rub. And I was like, what? And she's like, they both work in a hospital. One's a physical therapist and one's a speech pathologist. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, oh, it works great with Vapor Rub. And I was like, okay, and my heart was like, okay, that's different, but hey, you're using it. So, they still skirted around the issue because I kept saying, well, which bar is your favorite? And they would never respond. And they said, our son wants it on every night with, his Vicks Vapor Rub. And finally, out of the blue, I get this text message that said, well, how do I sell it? What happens if I sell it? And I was like, well, have you even used the candle yet? She goes, no, she's like, we just keep Vicks Vapor Rub in there. And I said, well, if you're going to sell it, you really have to start using the candle.
Buy some wax.
Exactly. So we talked yesterday at lunch, and she's like, well, I want you to talk to my husband. So we were up until a good, in the wee hours of the AM. And it's exciting to see, people that I would have never, ever expected. I mean, I'm telling you, they don't even use candles. They use it for Vicks Vapor Rub, but they see the potential in it.
Yeah, so ask everybody, even if you don't necessarily...
Even if they don't look like they're going to be candle people. I mean, I thought she will always be a person that never buys barbs from me, and look, she's asking how to sell it, I mean, you never know.
That's a good tip, so ask everybody. So this year, there's the incentive to get a trip to Greece, which is amazing. I'm really looking forward to that, which is there's going to be a trip up to Mykonos and Athens. It's going to be really exciting. So I'm hoping to qualify. We're certainly working towards it here. I was wondering if you'd been on any of the incentive trips before.
Yeah. Once you go on one, you're going to want to go on them all. I actually have earned every incentive trip since I started. When I started, my first incentive trip was Hawaii the following year. And when I went, I was in the top, I think I was in the top 150 consultants. 350 earned it, and including the guests that we brought, there was 500 of us. We went to Kona, Hawaii, and that was my first trip. My husband, became a true believer when he was able to fly for free, eat for free, vacation for free. They even give us money. It's really amazing. We get presents on our bed. I mean, we're treated like royalty. And while we were there, back then we used to do 2 trips a year, and when we were there, the following trip was the top 100 people of the company. And I'm like, I'm so little, I just started, there's no way. And I met my best friend at the time on my first trip, and I told her, I said, we got to do this, and we're like, well, I don't know how we're going to do this. I mean, we are so little in this big company, and we actually earned the top 100 out of the whole company. So we were in Boston. That was a big privilege. And then we went to Disney World the next year. We took our baby boy, who was 4 months old. We went to Disney World, all expense paid. Wow. And then the following year, I was in the top, I think they said the top 50 people that earned the Dominican. So I got this massive suite, which was absolutely unnecessary.
But nice.
And I think I was pregnant. I've been pregnant. It feels like I've been pregnant on every other trip.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then, and then this year we went back to Hawaii with Juliet. So Devin got to go to Disney World, and Juliet got to go to Hawaii.
That seems like a fair trade-off.
Yeah. So I really hope to do this one.
Because they were both infants at the time when they went on the trips, right? So it's like families, young families you don't have to be separated, they can come too.
Well, the rule is this. They do have a rule of Disney World, you could bring up to, I think, 4 children, because that was a family vacation, and it was very, very cool. The usual Scentsy policy is you can bring your children up to 1 year old if they're breastfeeding, and I still am. And sometimes, people are like, that's not fair, or it is fair, or blah, blah, blah. The truth is, once you've been on this trip, you'll realize, what, it is necessary to have adult time. As much as I want to bring my children, and it was weird. People are like, how could you leave your son at home? As much as it sounds terrible, it really is much needed
you need
time
a break too. Totally.
You do. And when you're on these Scentsy trips, you're really with family, and I think it's so healthy to spend time with your Scentsy sisters and talk about your business, or not talk about your business, go lay out by the pool. It is nice. I think when I post on Facebook, people are like, how could you leave your son? It's so terrible, gasp, But in reality, I think it's well needed, and I do look forward to it every year.
Yeah,
and I will tell you, I know plenty of people, they either pay for their mom or their grandma or their nanny to come with the trip, and they bring the rest of their children. You could do that. You can also extend the trip. Many people extend an extra week and bring the kids in. So it's not that Scentsy is anti-family. It's just, you know, when we have a nice dinner or nice luau, they want to keep it, you know, it's an adult atmosphere.
Yeah, sure. So my other question is kind of regarding like the new countries that are open. I mean, the UK has been open for a couple of years now, but Mexico has just opened. We've got Australia, Poland, France. So one of the things that we have here is not everybody's heard of Scentsy. There's not very much brand recognition still. And I was wondering if you had any tips on like how to build that.
That is $1 million question, and I would love to know myself. I would love to say that I have somebody in every country, and I don't. And it's not that I don't try. I am quite aggressive in trying. You know, again, it's about asking everybody. I look on my Facebook and I ask people, do you know anybody in these countries? I've been asking missionaries. I mean, this week I you know, asked a friend of a friend who's a missionary in Australia. I mean, you hit up everybody. The way MLM works is it's a numbers game. You know, it's like most everything else in sales. It's a numbers game. It's not necessarily what you're selling. It's you have to hit 1,000 people to get your 50 people. You have to hit 100, you know, 100 people to get that one maybe. It's a numbers game. I mean, a lot of times people are lucky and they know people in that country or family in that country. But I truly believe that, you know, if you're just diligent and trying, eventually you'll hit the numbers and it's going to work. Sometimes it feels like a lot of no's, but it really does open up to a lot of yeses. Sometimes there's just a lot of, you know, hard foundation to break through to get to the good stuff, you know, to your pot of gold. So I've been making YouTubes about the territories. So I would say, like, do you live in the UK or do you live in Australia? And I make these YouTubes, and then I tag them to my friends in on Facebook that knows people, because, you know, I might not know them, but I would be like, you know, Jenny, I know your sister used to live in France. Do you mind sending them this YouTube? And so that's what I've been doing. I can't say I've been real successful because we just opened last Sunday in Australia, Poland, and Mexico. But I mean, that has been my strategy. So I've been linking my, you know, join Scentsy in Australia, and it has my information, and I've been tagging it to everybody I know that has attachment to Australia. And, you know, I hope that eventually that will hit something, right? Trigger an artery.
Yeah, it just trickles down. It goes back to what you were saying before. Just ask everyone. Even
and it's a timing issue. You know, it's gonna be right timing for somebody. You know, I mean, I have plenty of people that I've talked about it with, and they're just not ready. You know, you don't know when these people are ready. I gave this warmer to somebody, you know, a month ago, and who knew, you know, a month later they'd be interested. You know, I've talked to people that are like, I actually have one of my consultant friends. She said she watched me on Facebook. She told me I didn't talk to her since high school, and it was like 17 years later. She finds me on Facebook, and she's like, I have to confess to you, I've been Facebook stalking you. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? And she's like, I've been watching your Scentsy career, and I'm interested in signing up. And I was like, oh, do you want to try one? Do you want information? And she's like, no, I've read up all about it. I've been watching you for a year, and now I'm ready. So, you know, maybe somebody in Australia already has my link, and they're waiting for the brand to get bigger, or they're waiting until they have money, or whatever the reason. You know, we're sowing the seeds, right?
Yeah, just keep putting it out there. And I think that was all that, because I wrote some little notes on a little pad that I wanted to ask you, but that was really everything that I wanted to cover today. But thanks so much for like taking the time. I know it's difficult with having like the time zone difference. It's just difficult to get the face-to-face time. So thanks for like taking the time out today.
I've really enjoyed spending time with you, Laura. I know it's been kind of a technical struggle when we do this. It takes, you know, an hour or two just to get this up and going. But I really love that.
We'll be better next time.
Yeah, we'll become pros. But I love that we can do this. I love that the idea you can recruit somebody in the U.S., you know, and I can recruit somebody in the U.K., and that, you know, it takes a few button pushes, but, you know, we can do this. And so I hope this also encourages people that, you know, there are no boundaries. You know, there's no, you know, water dividing us, countries, you know. So here's to
Only a
all of
Google
us.
Hangout away.
Exactly. We can recruit one Google Hangout at a time.
We should totally do that. We can have a recruiting hangout next time.
Exactly. Yes, we need a banner next time.
Thanks so much, Naomi. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.